So we have an update about the misdeeds of your Pastor Charles Tapp of Sligo SDA Church, and I have changed some of the numbers around, so I'm going to have this video along with 4 other new videos to add. And I guess you already heard the old videos. In the old videos, what I said is that I was with some medical providers and they caused some heart injuries, and when I asked Pastor Tapp, I only asked him for a referral to a good cardiologist. That's all I was asking, because he's well connected with Adventist Hospital. So I just asked him. I wasn't asking him for any kind of religious advice, but instead of giving me a referral to a good cardiologist, Pastor Tapp went ahead on August 9, 2014 and preached an entire sermon saying that heart conditions are coming from anxiety and not having faith in God. And then he even went on to say there are studies showing this, and then and it looks like Pastor Tapp has gone back and changed things. Now it seems Sligo Church doesn't even give out those sermons anymore, so someone could not even hear or see that entire sermon if they wanted to now. And also what they have given for sermons is only a podcast, which is not even the full sermon. So it used to be you could get the full, the entire church service, and now you can't even get the full sermon, and even what's not the full sermon is only a podcast. So it looks like Pastor Tapp found out what he did, and he's going to hide the facts. And what he's gone and done is Pastor Tapp has even edited portions of that sermon. So instead of saying that you get cardiovascular conditions result from anxiety, that all cardiovascular conditions are to blame, the cause is anxiety. Now he goes back to changing the word cardiovascular to cardiac, and then he says cardiac and ulcers, and anyone can tell he added in this portion later, because now it doesn't even sound like he had all the emotion he had during the sermon. So you can tell he's got the emotions in a sermon, and then he's just got this extra thing kind of edited in. So now he goes in to say cardiac and ulcers, meaning heart and ulcers, and that everyone kind of already knew anyway. It wasn't any breaking news that some heart conditions and some ulcers get worse if you have stress and anxiety. So it really wasn't any breaking news. But in that sermon, he was trying to say cardiovascular, because I used the word cardiovascular, and my cardiovascular injuries have nothing to do with stress, anxiety, or even what you would think of as the usual hardening of the arteries type thing. But now the story gets updated. The story gets updated that it wasn't just that it was injuries caused by something like malpractice that Pastor Tapp was covering up and misleading me. Actually, the injuries were 2 sets of injuries. The first set of injuries was to facilitate a sexual assault. Then the sexual assault occurred, and the second set of injuries came in order to conceal everything that had gone on. So literally all the injuries I have is related to a sexual assault at a medical facility, and these are all cardiovascular injuries in the heart, in the brain, and in the arteries. So you could kind of call it like a circulatory system injuries. So So this is what I found out. And now what I also find out is one of the groups of people involved was Innova. And Innova is a giant health system in Northern Virginia. But then there's this strange thing where very secretly, since 2010, and I didn't know this, I would not have asked Pastor Tapp for any help if I had known this. Since 2010, Innova has been secretly running the entire heart program at Washington Adventist Hospital. So really, Washington Adventist Hospital doesn't really have anything other than a heart program. So really, Innova is running Washington Adventist Hospital. And how Innova does it is, Innova owns a physicians group, which is basically the same physicians group that practices at the Innova hospitals. So the same physicians group that practices at the Innova hospitals is owned by Innova, and it's that exact same physicians group which also runs the Adventist Hospital, the Washington Adventist Hospital heart program. So when you go to Washington Adventist Hospital for heart care, actually what you're getting is Innova. So it's not all this advertising they show that it's Adventist heart and Adventist heart care, this and that, all this BS. That's not what's going on. The Adventist Hospital has just, they rake in all the money. The Adventist church executives and so forth, they rake in all the money, but they're not doing any work. All they have done is basically outsource the entire, it's not really outsourcing the operation to Innova. Innova basically runs the whole place. So actually Innova is in charge. So so I had no idea when I had the issues with Innova in Northern Virginia, and when I was asking for help from Pastor Tapp, I had no idea. Literally, I was dealing with Innova again. So it seems Pastor Tapp is a big rep for Innova. I mean, since he's an agent for Adventist Healthcare, he's automatically the agent for Innova. And no wonder he immediately jumped in and conspired with Innova. But what Pastor Tapp did was, he was being an accessory after the fact to all those crimes. Because the meaning of accessory after the fact means to mislead someone away from their, if someone is conducting an investigation, even if, and it does not have to be a law enforcement officer, even the victim of a crime may not know that they suffered from a crime even. They may just think it's medical malpractice. And if someone intentionally, knowingly misleads them into thinking something else, into diverting them away from that investigation, which Pastor Tapp did on his August 9th sermon in 2014, he said, my heart condition is caused by anxiety, so to stop thinking about it and to pray, that kind of thing, right? So he said to go away from an investigation, go away from getting medical care to find out what exactly is going on. So Pastor Tapp is clearly an accessory after the fact. And when you become an accessory after the fact to sexual assault, you are a sex offender. So I'm going to rightly call Pastor Tapp a sex offender. So what happened? So that's exactly what happened. I had no idea what I was running into when I ran into Pastor Tapp. I didn't know that I was dealing with, and in fact, and you can hear the tapes, the next 4 tapes. This is Pastor Charles Tapp 1. The next 4 tapes, which are Pastor Charles Tapp 2 through 5, will explain exactly what went on. And one of the things that also happened was it originally involved the neurology program at Innova. It did not involve the cardiology program. But after I received heart injuries, Even though the cardiology program at Innova did not give me any medical care, they already admitted this in court. They called it a risk management team, and they were meeting and they were discussing my matter. And actually my matter was not medical malpractice. My matter was severe criminal offenses. So Innova was actually having all their doctors, their various experts meeting and discussing the matter, and so they also involved their cardiology program, and the cardiologists they involved are the very same cardiologists that practice at Washington Adventist Hospital. So these very same cardiologists who they're also part of Innova, but they were working with the wrongdoers at Innova on how to conceal my heart injuries instead of giving me medical care to solve the heart issues that arose from those injuries. So those very same cardiologists, and they admitted this in court. They were discussing the matter, but they did not say they did anything wrong. But how could they not? They were discussing a matter to cover, what happened were criminal offenses. So what they were discussing was how to cover up those criminal offenses. So what Innova did, the very same cardiologists from Washington Adventist Hospital, they're actually Innova's cardiologists. The ones who do surgery at Washington Adventist Hospital are Innova's cardiologists. They use a different name, that's the physicians group, but it's owned by Innova, and those very same cardiologists were discussing in secret with other doctors and Innova officials on how to conceal all these crimes. And so that's why when I went to Charles Tapp, your pastor, he immediately went and conspired with them, and he went to conceal facts for them. So I will call Pastor Tapp a sex offender, and I'm going to publish it, and if he wants, he can sue me, but he has to prove that he's not a sex offender. And to be a sex offender, you don't actually have to have physical sexual contact. You can just get in on the act after the fact. So if you listen to the next 4 tapes, you can very clearly understand what's going on.